the club is really a holy thing and it shouldn't be filmed. People that start going out are maybe 16, 17, 18. They also find their own sexuality. Maybe I don't want to be filmed when I'm doing that. My event was sold in 1 minute. My event was sold in 30 seconds. It's like, it's not this kind of competition. The party is what counts. You can have a full dance floor, but no one's dancing.
And you can have an amazing party with 50 people.
Cinthie is widely regarded as one of the true queens of house music, a legendary vinyl selector with over 20 years of experience behind the decks. From running record labels and record shops to touring globally, all of it while raising her daughter as a single mother. We go deep into what it really takes to build a lasting career in house music, building momentum while staying true to your craft and going against the grain.
We were really in the vinyl business.
Yeah. We were I don't want to say
vinyl pushers.
You don't play vinyl, you're not my friend.
Cinthie, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to come and talk to me. You've always been an inspiration to me.
Thank you.
And a great help, I have to say, throughout my journey in making it in the music industry. You've done it all, from doing parties to record labels. And I want to get down and stuck into learning everything about you and all the things that you've done to create this amazing career that you have now. And I know it wasn't easy. I know many things had to be done.
Yeah.
And let's get started with your passion for music. How did the fire get ignited? How did the love for music get ignited? Because in your case, I know that you are actually known to have a very deep and encyclopedic knowledge of not only house music, but many other genres as well, like hip-hop, R&B, jazz.
Maybe hip-hop not so much, but
But many genres, you know, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah. Good question. I think it all started, when I became like a teenager, because this is really the time when you start to develop your taste in music. You're more interested in music, you're shaping your taste. And I think it just started with like the regular pop music, but I don't know, for some reason I was never a big fan of the lyrics and what they've been singing about, and I thought it was all a bit cheesy. And then my cousin is a bit older and he started going out in Frankfurt in like the beginning of the 90s, mid 90s, and he gave me a tape from a guy called Sven, and I was like, okay, who is this guy? And just listened to it, and I was like, what's this music? And so, yes, techno. And I think we wrote techno with 2K. And I was like, this is weird, you know? Back in the days, I think like 93 or something.
I remember that. That's funny.
And of course, the mysterious Mr. Sven was Sven Fade. And it was
a
tape
maybe
from Omen Club.
From Omen
of course.
HR3 Club Night.
Yeah. And no, this tape was from Omen Club. I still have it.
Right.
And then, of course, later came the HR3 Club Night tapes and stuff like that. But this was a good start. And I think back in the days, also Sven, he played all kinds of things, all kinds of electronic music, not so much only house music or only techno. It was also a lot of like trance, house, everything that was called electronic music. And I was like, wow, this is so nice. And then, of course, I started to dig deeper and I found some stuff like, like house music, like Chez Damier, all the stuff that came from the US. And then those lyrics, they really resonated.
How did you come across like that kind of stuff? Like, was it tapes as well? Because you know that it was exactly the same for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's all started for me with a Sven Vath tape from, this is why I said HR3 Club Night. Yeah. So just for the people that don't know this, HR3 was Hessischer Rundfunk, which was a German radio station from Hessia, where Frankfurt is. And Sven Vath had a regular radio show on there where he would play electronic music. And, as it was your cousin, for me, it was my older brother. Yeah. He was going to boarding school in Hessia, so like close to Frankfurt. Yeah. He was going to the Omen Club, brought the tapes back. Yeah. I listened to the tapes. That was it.
I was just like, boom, that's my thing.
What the hell is this? I love it. I need to find out everything I can about this music. Yeah. Okay, but then I have to say, I really stayed like in this sort of Frankfurt sound, IQ Records, Hard House, which was all more trancey based, kind of like early German trance based, like golden times of trance.
The golden time, not the
not the cheesy stuff.
Not the cheesy stuff.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff. Yeah. Like
so, like I was really into that as well. But I didn't get onto house music until much later. I think Masters at Work was like my really first exposure to to house. So how did you find out about people like Chez Damier? Because that's quite specific, and very underground, actually. Yeah.
So to be honest, I mean, I was also thinking about this, how I actually got into this specific kind of music. So I think when I got the tape, I must have been like 14 years old. So there was no way I could get into the clubs and stuff. I went to the clubs when I was 15, so only 1 year later. But of course, I was going to discotheques, and I didn't really like the music. And then also some older friends took me to some clubs, and I loved the music more there. And also the people were much nicer. And then I had my first boyfriend, and he was also collecting records. He was DJing at home, and he was like, let's go to the record store, let's buy records. And awesome. From there, the rest is almost history, because they gave me a job when I just turned 16. And then, of course, it was the heydays of like electronic music. So we got all the imports from the US, all the, like, I mean, I was obsessed with Paul Johnson, with, of course, Shirami, Carrie Chandler, everything that came from there. Also, Ralphie Rosario.
I'm getting goosebumps as you mention the name now. Because like Paul Johnson was just like tune after tune after tune. Just like unbelievable. May he rest in peace. You know what? Like a couple of weeks ago, I spoke to Darius, and same as you, he worked in the record store for 15 years.
He also told me that.
15 years in the record store. And I feel people who get that kind of grounding in the scene, having worked in record studio, dealing with DJs day in, day out, pulling out the records that they like, keeping the stash under the counter for the special ones. There was the
keeping the best for yourself.
I was always like, when I kept like, because like, you know, when I started DJing, it was all about buying vinyl as well.
Yes, of course. Right? Yeah, we didn't have anything else.
So we didn't have anything else. There was no downloads. There was no MP3 stores. When I went into the record store, it was always like, how do I get to the special stack? Why don't I ever get why is it that when I'm listening to my like stack and then somebody comes in and they're pulling out the stack from underneath and going like, here are the records that I've held back for you. I want those records.
Me too.
You know? There was like there was a hierarchy. So talk to me about like the record store days, how it shaped your understanding of music and DJing, and how it influenced you, and really how it got you to still owning and running a record store to this day.
So I'm going in circles in my life. I don't know. I mean, we also have to think about that back in the days, it was also really rare for a woman to do all that stuff, you know, and I was only 16. So, I mean, I was super shy. So, and if someone would have talked to me, I was like, oh, you know. And so I think the record store really shaped me as a person, because I got more confident, because you have to deal with so many different people, also with so many different egos. And then also, of course, it shaped my music taste. And for me, it was a really, really good learning school for my later life, I would say. And so when I started working there, of course, I was the youngest. The shop was run by some older techno dudes, I would say. But and also sometimes back in the days, I thought, okay, they're just taking the piss, you know, because they also taught me how to really mix records. And I was like, oh, they're just laughing about me. But now when I think back about it, it was a really good learning school, and they really wanted the best for me, you know, because they gave me the weirdest records and they said, mix them. Okay, and then when I just made the transition, okay, they said, okay, now without the headphones. And I was like, oh my God, how bad is this? But then when I look back, I'm super thankful, because
they pushed you,
they pushed me so much, and they really prepared me for this kind of music life. And and of course with the record store, because I mean, I was only working there on Saturdays. And sometimes also during the week. But of course, we got the new records. I was sometimes the first person to unwrap them, and then also the first 1 or 2 hours, there were not so many customers, or sometimes also no one, so you could listen to all the new records. And then I found so many jams, which I still have. And I'm super thankful.
Like, keeping that one to the side.
That was great. And I mean, also back in the days, I played all kinds of stuff, not only house music. I also played a lot of techno. Then the stuff from DJ Hell came out, which was, you know,
Electroclash.
Or the beginnings of Electroclash, something like Miss Kitten and the Hacker. I was also a really, really big fan of Anthony Rota, all the electro stuff, you
Anthony
know.
Rota is
and
awesome.
It's really, really good. Or Oaks 88 and all that stuff. And also some trance stuff, you know, Pete Lazenby or
Sacred Cycles.
Something like this.
I still have that on vinyl.
That was getting the goosebumps.
That record. I mean, if somebody like people who don't know this record, Sacred Cycles by Pete Lazenby was a big trance record. And I heard that record at Sven Vath's monthly party at Munich Airport Ream, Ritual of Life.
Okay.
I was at boarding school and I used to sneak out alone in the middle of the night, hitchhiked to Munich.
Oh my God.
This was my will and my mission to rave. You know, like, I'm going to go there no matter what. I don't care if nobody else is coming. I'm going. You know what I mean? And I would go to the rave by myself, you know, and there's like 5,000 people there. And I remember that record playing and I was like, that is a sick record.
It's really good.
Golden times actually for electronic music.
I also remember the days when we were so hungry about going out and listening to this new music because there was no radio, no streaming, no nothing. So if you wanted to see your friends, also if you wanted to listen to this music, you really had to go to the raves and the clubs. And when I see, I mean, you know, my daughter just turned 16 and they're like, they have everything, you know, they sit at home in the comfort of their bed, they have the streaming and stuff, there's a new track coming out, they press play and they get it, you know, there's Shazam.
You had to look for it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also tracks I heard them for the first time in the 90s and I only found out 20 years later what it was, you know, and this is like, wow, this was this track. My God, I've been looking for this one for 20 years and the kids now, they have everything, you know, and also this, I sometimes also feel that they're not so hungry about going out anymore.
No.
Yeah.
For us, I think looking for the music, you had to go and look for the music, as you said. And then the looking for the music became an adventure.
Yeah.
Because it got you to all kinds of places that you'd never normally go to. You meet all kinds of weird and wonderful people who decided that is our life. And we're going to live this life to the fullest. And then becoming part of that scene and becoming part of that, it almost felt like an act of rebellion. Like, I'm not, you guys listen to your chart stuff on the normal radio. Yeah. We have something else going on. We have
something else. And also I think this kind of club scene was also a kind of a special scene because everyone was friends with each other and then it was and from the outside you would be like, oh, this is a mysterious thing, we go to this club, you know, and sometimes you didn't even have an address, you had to call like an answering machine and then you got the address for this and that kind of party and only the coolest people knew and stuff. So it was fun, you know, it was really nice.
Happy days, man. For me it was there was a club in Hamburg called the Unit. So the Front in Hamburg and the Unit were the main ones. Front was house and Unit was like hard trance and techno. Fond memories.
I mean, so many memories maybe. But
going down the rabbit hole. Okay, so let's go back to your record store days. I mean, that is very unusual. To be starting work in a record store at age 16, only female around. Not many, like, you know, people talk about not many females being in the scene these days. Back then it was none. Like, I mean, there's like, you know, the odd female DJ, you know, like I could like, which was, let's put it this way, there were few and far between. So there weren't many. So did you feel welcome in the scene? Did you feel like you got treated differently? Like, what was it like being a woman that early on in the scene and with no other role models even, you know?
No, I've always felt really welcome. I mean, of course, the guys who I was working for, they were older than me. Of course, they had more life experience. And I mean, of course, sometimes I made some jokes and stuff like that, but it was more in a friendly way. It was never in a way that they wanted to make me small, you know. And I mean, they also supported me so much. They also gave me my first gig when I was in a club when I was like 17 or something. And I mean, from there the whole thing started. I mean, of course, back in the days, it was not so much that to become a DJ was like a full job. It was, for most people, it was just a hobby they did on the side, you know. And also I mean I studied software development, so I never wanted to be a full-time DJ. That the whole thing came like many years later, or also back in the days, if you really wanted to make it as a DJ or more as a musician, you also had to produce music, because also remember that we didn't have social media. I think YouTube just started.
Yeah.
So the only way you could make other people know about you was to release good music or good mixtape or tapes, or work in a record store where a lot of other DJs would come and buy records, and if you were lucky enough, they would invite you for their party in their hometown.
Yeah, and you do a warm up for them or something like that.
This was the way. Also, we didn't have many magazines, or let's say if there were magazines and you were lucky enough to have an article in there.
Front and Groove.
Front and Groove. Front page.
Front page. Yes.
Front page and Groove.
Sorry, that's it. Yeah.
There was not so much other stuff, and you really had to work hard to stick out and get your and put your foot into the scene. But to come back to your question, I think I felt always very welcome. And of course, sometimes when you played somewhere and there were some people, it was the first time for them that they saw a woman playing music. Of course, sometimes you had the guys coming up. It's like, oh, that was not so bad for a woman, you know. But then, of course, you were like, oh, come on, you know. And then you went to the bar, you had a shot with a person, and this person became one of your best friends, you know. And it's just how it starts, you know. And so, no, I always felt very welcome. I always could ask the guys for help and stuff like that. And
Can you tell me where the record shop was? Like, what town were you in at that time?
In Saarbrücken.
Saarbrücken. So like for those that you don't know, Saarbrücken
is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like it's in the Saarland, right? Yeah. And it's one of the small German states, and like it's probably not known for its amazing electronic music scene. So when did things sort of get to the next level where you felt like, okay, like now I'm starting to get more gigs? Like you said, you studied software development. Yeah. Was it like, did you move to somewhere else for that? Like when did you get exposed to like more thriving scenes? Because Germany is very much so centered around Frankfurt and Berlin at the time.
So I had a residency in a club in Saarbrücken where I always played, or most of the time I played Saturdays. I played all night long on the second floor. Right. Which was from midnight to 5 or 6 in the morning. So I had to play all kinds of stuff, you know. And then sometimes they had bigger events where they invited people like Ellen Alien, Heiko Laux, Westbam, Sven Fade, and Max Boone, you know, all these kind of people. And I was already playing a lot, and then I think it was Westbam. I did the opening for them, and he came and he was like, "Wow, this is like the best thing I ever heard in my life." And back in the days, I was also playing a lot of breaks and stuff like that, like breaks, electro, and then house and stuff. And he was completely blown away, and he was like, "You have to come to Berlin and play." And I mean, obviously, I went to the Love Parade and went there to party to. What was the name of the club? Tresor, and also E-Werk, from Woody, yeah. And I I didn't play there. I went there to party, and of course the Love Parade and stuff like that. And so Westbam said, okay, you have to come to Berlin and play. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's see, because I already knew people talk a lot in the nightlife, you know.
There's a lot of promises in nightlife, and very little that happens.
A bookie for Latin America too. Never heard of this person again. And but then it was funny because 2 weeks later I got the call from the office there, and then they booked me. And
was that Low Spirit Records?
There was Low Spirit, yeah. And I think that was even, oh my God, it's so funny. There was even New Year's Eve 1999 to 2000, and it was only Westbam playing, Woody, who does Heideglühen now, and myself. Yeah. It was crazy.
Woody's been around for a while as well.
He's around for a while.
As have I. That's why I remember all his names. E-Werk, Low Spirit. Low Spirit was a very influential label at the time. Westbam was one of the biggest names in the German scene at the time. They had some big acts that actually made it into the charts, like Marusha. Like I remember going to the Love Parade, and what was that big rave called that they had in the Mayday, that's the one. Obviously, Mayday, like I went to Mayday a couple of times, you know. You know what, like I'm really getting into like those tunes again, like pulling out. Obviously, like a lot of those tunes have been brought back into the forefront because like people like Peggy and people like Amelie Lenz are dropping old Bonsai Records stuff, you know.
Crazy.
And it's like I know those tunes, you know, I rave to those tunes, you know, and there are some bangers out at that time, you know.
Well, you know what? I played the closing in Panorama bar like a month ago or 2 months ago, and as you know, I'm not so much into trance music, even though I like some stuff. And then I played really like half an hour before the doors closed. It was Monday morning at 7 o'clock or something. And then I dropped Love Stimulation from Humid. Oh my fucking goodness. And people came to me, they were crying, you know. because also I feel like when I played it, there's of course also coming some people from the older generation, you know, and so many people came up to me crying, you know. It was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Memories.
And they were like, oh my God.
But you know what, right? Like this is just like, testament to the culture.
Yeah.
Being part of the culture for a long time. And it's just like, it's amazing to hear this. Like I'm getting goosebumps now just retelling you that. But like, I've just, literally just recorded the podcast with Fleur Shaw just before you. We're doing 2 today. So, and she had a very similar story. Going out real early, sneaking out at age 14, 15, going to the clubs. For me, it was 17. I looked really young back in the day. So like when I was like 15, I tried. People were like, nah, you look 12.
But it's a difference with guys. They're always younger.
Guys always look a bit younger. The girls get to go out earlier. Yeah. And then when I was 17, I finally got to go to the clubs. But it was the same for her. She started going out real young, like music in the family, and then being a resident for a long time. And I was a resident for a long time. That's how I started my DJ career. I was a resident in Hamburg in a club called the China Club, and also same as you, playing 6-7 hours, like just me on the whole night. You know what I mean? And I feel like that is such a great education to have as a DJ. When you have to play the warm up, you have to play the peak time, you have to play the end. Going through that journey, building like the drama throughout the night. And I feel a lot of young DJs are getting deprived of that today because obviously the club scene is dying. Smaller clubs are not around anymore so much. Not so much in Germany, but like in the UK for sure, And it's all centered around big events and short slots.
Yeah, short slots, the 1 hour slots.
Yeah. 1 hour is terrible.
But then also on the other side, I think I was talking about this with my old booker, and because I feel like also the scene is quite saturated at the moment, because now it can really be a full-time job, and it's with today's technology is also a little bit easier. Like, we really had to go to the record stores. We really had to learn beat matching and stuff like that. And now with the CDJs, it's a lot easier. So it opens more doors. Of course, more people want to do it. It's a cool job. You travel a lot. You can make good money if you're good and stuff like that. But then still, there are only so many clubs,
Right.
And there's not more clubs opening, but there's way more DJs. So you can't really give people like a whole night because there are too many DJs.
Right.
So you have to really
split
the big
it.
Lineups. You have the big lineups and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think we are really lucky that we were given the opportunity to really shape our taste, and also really take the time to learn our craft, and nowadays I feel like, okay, there's some people, they decide to become a DJ and then they have to be on the big lineups the next day. They get a manager the next day, you know? And I'm like, guys, really take your time.
It was a much longer process back in the day.
And it was also not so much about being like famous and stuff. For me, it was for the first 20 years, it was a hobby. And I mean, I'm only doing this thing full time since 2014 when I quit my job at Ableton.
That's 11 years ago.
It's 11 years ago, And before that, it was always like, no, I just love to go to the record store. I love to have a glass of wine and play records. That was the thing for me, you know. And then, of course, it all kind of blew up with the Boiler Room I played, and then also with the Beste Modus label I had. And,
I wanted to dig into all of that because this is the period where I got to meet you.
Where you came in.
Where we became friends in Berlin.
We became friends.
And so like, I don't want to skip any parts because I'm feeling out there might be interesting.
I think I'm talking also too much.
Yeah, no, you're not talking too much. It's great. But like, I want to get back to all of those things in a minute. But I just want to get from the step from in between Saarbrücken to then being in Berlin. So like, you've given a little clue that you said you worked for Ableton.
Yeah, that all came later. But so we talked about Westbam. So
yes, so he invited
that was the last thing. So he invited me for this New Year's party, and then I finished school, and then I wanted to study anyway. So the next day I went to Berlin, and then I studied. And
so you went to university in Berlin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Technical university.
Gotcha.
So it was kind of win-win situation or logical step. And then of course from there I played more for the Low Spirit guys, and they had a sub-label which was more breaks oriented, was called Electric Kingdom. So I was attached to them. And also I had my first release with them in 2000.
Okay, wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, really funny stuff. And also with pianos, I just listened to it like the other day. It just sounds exactly the same like my today stuff, you know. And
well, good taste is timeless.
Maybe I should sample myself, you know.
Good taste is timeless.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I never knew that part of your story.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. So you were then in Berlin.
Yeah.
You studied in Berlin. Did you feel like when you moved from Saarbrücken to Berlin that you're like, you said you like DJ'd for the Low Spirit crew. Was it a pretty smooth transition that you actually had more gigs? Or was it like, hey, I have to start from scratch now and rebuild myself a name? Because sometimes when you move to places, that's what happened when I moved from London to Berlin.
Yeah.
It was literally like nothing for 2 years.
Yeah,
because
you really have to start
start from scratch being in a new place. How was the move for you?
I have to say for me it was quite easy because I made quite a lot of good friends. And of course I was just going out in the scene. People kind of knew me, also from the Low Spirit thing. But I would say the kind of problem I had was that Low Spirit was, you know, back in the days there was the underground scene and then there was the commercial scene.
Yeah.
And Low Spirit, they had music in the charts and stuff. They did the Love Parade. It became super commercial.
It became
and
really
a lot
big,
and so for a lot of people they said, she's with that label, she's super commercial. So they wouldn't book me because they thought I'm gonna play commercial music.
And you got pigeonholed with that kind of sound.
Yeah, or they thought I'm just super expensive or something, you know.
Right.
And so for me it was harder to really prove that I'm playing good music. And also I think I left the label in 2003 or something like that. I think I made my last record there. And then I was almost a bit lost. And but then, I don't know, I was super lucky because I was also going out a lot. I met some more people. And then someone gave me the chance to play in the club. And the people were really like, wow, this is really good. I didn't know you play this kind of music. I was like, yeah, I always played this kind of music. And from there, I would say I played a few like, I don't want to say legendary sets, but, you know, sets that stayed in people's mind. And from there, I really...
Which were the standout sets? Which were the sets that shifted people's perception of you?
Yeah. I played also, I think, because I'm not sure if people know, but we don't have closing hours in Berlin.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got a slot from like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And it...
So in Watergate, they're like, how long are you staying open? Until the last person leaves.
Yeah, it can be the next day.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. I remember that. When does the floor close? When the last person goes. There'd be like one dude on the dance floor going like, and you're like, really? We're keeping the club open for this one dude? Yeah, we are. We are keeping it open.
So, and there was a place called The Villa.
Yeah.
It was also a super underground club, also half illegal and stuff like that. So, and I played there from 6 a.m. And I think I played for 10 hours or so. It was that people didn't want to leave, you know. And I was almost running out of records. So I started to playing the records another time because, I don't know, they don't remember anyway.
They don't notice.
So, and I think that was one of the legendary sets I played. And I don't know, from there I got booked more. And
it's funny how that like, one set like that can really change your like sort of trajectory. I had a similar thing going on when I was a resident in the China Club in Hamburg. And they really, like, a guy got me in that I used to go to school with, and he was doing parties, and it was just me on for 8 hours. And then after that, you're like, you're a resident now, and you know, like, and you're coming back every week. And that was the first time people started flying me out to gigs. So I flew from London flew with Ryanair at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Oh God.
With a record bag. And I couldn't afford the taxi to the airport, so it was in it with a massive record bag.
Oh my God, in a train.
You know, on buses and trains and whatnot. And then they didn't book a hotel for me in Hamburg either. So I had to, when I finished at 8 a.m., I was straight to the airport and then fly back and be up for another couple of hours till I get it back to my house.
My God, those
I
days.
was so hungry that I kept doing that for 2 years, and I wanted to do that. But I think it's very valuable lessons for people to hear that, because, you know, Nowadays, people kind of want the fast track, you know. They want to release on a big label and they want to fly around the world within like 2 years, you know. But the graft and the work that goes into getting to that stage is very different for our generation. It wasn't a quick thing. It took a long time.
True that. And I think if you go the short way, you also miss out on a lot of stories because, I mean, those stories, you know, and then also when you missed your flight because you fell asleep on the train and all that kind of stuff. And then you've been running out of credit on your mobile phone and you couldn't call anyone. Or you just went to some random people for some after hour, missed your flight, of course, you know, and these are the stories, and they also shape you as a person. And I think if you go the short way, I mean, I didn't want to miss like playing for an empty floor, you know, because that's also a lesson you learn.
Totally.
And then you also, and then you think, okay, there's maybe only 10 people, but I play for those 10 people because they paid, they wanted to listen to the music. And then you play also in a different way. You play, maybe you try out more things, because what can happen? I mean, the worst thing that can happen is that those people also leaving, you know. So you play maybe the B-side of a record you would never play before. And I think that's also important.
It's very important. Yeah. And I remember talking to Enzo Siragusa about this. And Enzo is a big part of my story because, you know, I was a resident at Fuse. And, you know, like in the beginning of my career where like sometimes the gigs were not so great. And, you know, and he was like, he said to me, like, you have to get for the shit gigs to get to the good ones, you know, like the good gigs will come, but you have to get, you have to go through those little ones, through the shitty ones. Just be grateful that somebody's paying money to fly you somewhere. And
then from there, you know, even though there's only 10 people, they start following you, they start buying your stuff, they start supporting you. And from there, it's almost like a snowball system, you know, because they tell your friends and then, and that's how it is, you know. Yeah. But I think some people, they think when they play somewhere and it's not completely packed, it doesn't look like success.
Yeah, everybody's obsessed with how things look these days.
And like, sold out, my event is sold out in 2 minutes. But my event was sold in 1 minute. My event was sold out in 30 seconds. It's like, it's not this kind of competition, you know? It's like, at the end, it's like the party is what counts, you know? And you can have a full dance floor, but no one's dancing, you know? And
you can have an amazing party with 50 people.
That's it, you
Where
know?
it's really connecting to your soul because the people who are there are like, there for it, you know? Yeah, I think that's really important. It's like, I think nowadays we're much more about perceptions than we are about the actual value of each individual experience. Super interesting. I find, so like, you're in Berlin now.
Yeah.
You finished studying software engineering. Mm-hmm. You're a coder.
Mm-hmm. I'm smart.
So then, I know you are. So you got to be smart to do all the things that you've done, you know? And then you started working at Ableton.
Yeah, but this was...
Was that straight after uni or like something else?
That was really late. It was like in... Okay. So I quit 2014. I was not there for a long time because at the end it was too much.
What came before?
Oh, I worked in many different things. Okay. I worked for a company. They started doing some, how do you call this? Some tracking. So you could track your cars and stuff like that. Because back in the days, it was also just the beginning. Yeah. Then also worked for Sony Music. Right. So thanks for having. So just studying and
lots of normal software jobs basically. Yeah,
but at Sony, I also had other jobs because at Sony Music I was something like a product manager for club tracks and stuff like that. And then I did this, and then Sony was moving to Munich, and I didn't want to go with them, so I was looking for another job. So I worked for, I think it was called. What was the company called? I don't know. So they started with some early kind of, you know, like tracking cars and how you can get from one place to the other. It's what we have now with Google Maps, something.
GPS systems.
GPS, that was the word I was looking for. It's 80 in my head as a bit. Losing it.
Okay, gotcha.
And and Ableton came really like late, I think after my daughter was born, I think in 2010, 11. Mm-hmm. And then it was a really great job, great team, of course, you know, also did some customer service there as well, because it was Live 9 came out, and but then at some point I had to quit because I couldn't hammer a 40 hours job and then have the kid, and then I just played the Boiler Room in 2014,
and the Boiler Room was a special moment, right?
Yeah, it was really a special moment.
Tell me about what happened, basically. Tell me about that one. How did you get that opportunity? Yeah. And how did it impact do I remember this? Was this with Kerry Chandler?
No, this one was with Steve Buck. It was with...
Oh, Kerry Chandler was a later one, like something...
Yeah.
He did something with Kerry. I don't know if it was a Boiler Room.
No, but I don't think it was a Boiler Room.
It's something else,
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Like, take me back to this Boiler Room. And like, what happened there?
So maybe we have to go back to 2011 because that's when I met my old crew from Beste Modus, and we started the label. So I did a lot of work in like the underground house scene. So we had the label Beste Modus, and I think I was also releasing more music again after a longer break, and I think people started to recognize me. And
this is when, sorry to interrupt, but this is when I first became aware of you, because Beste Modus became very influential in the vinyl only scene, right? Like you were kind of the figurehead of the label, you launched the label, the driving force behind the label. You had gathered a group of young, talented producers around you, like Diego Krause, a couple of other guys as well. Like Diego's probably the most prominent one in that group, and like I really loved his music. And then really loved the label, and that's how I first got to meet you, because you seemed to be like everywhere at that point. You were doing parties, you're doing your own parties. The label was really popping off. So how did Beste Modus start? Like how did that all come about?
Yeah, this was also by accident, because in 2009 I had my daughter. And so after all this low spirit stuff, and I mean playing in Berlin. When I had my daughter, I mean, I was mostly playing in Berlin or in Germany. So because, as I said, I had another job, I was doing this more as a hobby, and it was nice to have some gigs. But still, for me, it was never the choice that DJing becomes my main job, because also still back in the days, it was not so much in high demand to have a DJ career as a job. So and then I had my daughter, and then I had, of course, a break, and then I was like, I have a kid, all these thoughts you suddenly have, so maybe I should slow down, and maybe I shouldn't go out so much anymore. But I still loved it. And then I think I had my first gig again after my daughter was 3 months old, because I was very lucky. She was super easy, slept through all night, and I was like, maybe I just go and have play music for 2 hours. I came home super happy wife, happy kid, and and then I played at a party, I think in 2011, and I was at the point where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm at a turning point. So I'm either playing the few gigs I have and let it die at some point, or I'm finding something where I could really put all my heart in, and something that's really motivating and pushing me again. And also I didn't release much I didn't release any music at that time. Had a longer break. And then I was playing at a party, I think also like legendary 7 a.m. in the morning. And it was still full, but not too many people. And I played my housey tunes, and then a guy came up to me and asked me in English, like, oh, what's the name of the track? And I showed him the record, and he was like, thank you. And then I was like, where are you from? And he was also German. I don't know why he asked me in English. And we were laughing about this. And then later I had a shot with him at the bar, and he was like, wow, I haven't heard such good music and super cool. And we connected. And I was Steven and Leven from the crew.
All right.
And then he introduced me to Diego Krause and Ed Herbst and all the rest. And I had a residency at the Stadtbad in Wedding. Yeah. And so I invited them
Which was a really sort of happening club in Berlin at that time.
Yeah. And then I invited them to my gigs. And so this is how the friendship started. And then at some point they were like, oh yeah, by the way, we also make music, like the classic, I also make music. And then they sent me some tracks, and I was like, wow, this is so good, really good. And then I was playing it, and then I was like, shit, what can we do with this music? Because the guys were like, we send it out to some labels, but they never reply, and I was like, fuck it, let's do it ourselves, and then we started the label, and the rest is history. Yeah. And then I think we were selling really good, the people started to get to know us. Then also we had some Mixmag review and a resident advisor review, and how it goes when you release records, you have a lot of attention and stuff. And then I think we also played a Mixmag lab in 2012 or something.
And you did that label night. What's the club called next to Club der Visionäre on the other side?
Ipse.
Ipse, yes.
Yeah.
So
we did that.
I can't remember all the names anymore.
Yeah, so many names,
I remember you did your label night at Ipse.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the first label night you'd done, was it?
No, I think that came also a little bit later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Boiler Room came 2014, and I think it was just the sum of everything I did before, releasing, playing. Then we had also good reviews and stuff like that around the labels, and then it was also the start of Boiler Room. I think
Boiler Room was super influential at that time.
Yeah, and also
as well.
was like still super young. I think it only happened once a month in Berlin, also at the Stadtbad on the boiler floor. And so then I got the call, and I was like, okay, crazy, cool. Because
that was supporting Steve Bug on the...
Yeah, Steve Bug was playing after.
Was also,
and it was me. Who else was playing there? Matthew Styles, maybe?
Okay. Yeah.
So
and then, like, how was that perceived when it came out? Did you feel something noticeably change afterwards?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
definitely.
Tell me what happened.
So, I mean, for the Boiler Room, I wanted to do something special, and I was like, okay, I definitely wanted to play records because not so many people were playing records. And also back in the days, Boiler Room was a thing. It was a statement because not so many people were allowed to do one.
Yeah.
And you knew when you got the invite, you knew, okay, you did something right. And it was a great honor. And then, of course, when you had the opportunity, you also wanted to show your skills, You didn't just want to turn up and press a few things on the CDJ. I was like, I play records and I'm going to fucking do it in a fucking Boiler Room. And then I was like, okay, maybe I can do something special. And we had our singer Albert Vogt, and I was like, okay, let's do kind of a live thing.
Awesome.
So he was singing, or like doing some hosting.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
And so that was great because no one has ever done something like this before. Playing some house records, like a woman again. And then having this guy singing and doing some stuff. And I think it just brought a lot of attention. And I think it got like 700,000 views, which was back in the days was quite a lot.
It's still a lot.
It's still a lot. I mean, nowadays, people, they have sometimes 2 million, like super fast. But back in the days, it was a new format. It definitely took longer.
Yeah.
But then, I could suddenly feel like, okay, the people are following my Facebook account and stuff like that. And also, I think I was with the Watergate agency back then. Yeah, they got more requests and stuff.
I remember you were with Watergate, yes. Yeah.
And then I think I was also with Laura, my old booker. I think it was around the time we also started working together. And we also got some international stuff. And then I had a new release coming out, and we got more reviews. We got an article in Mixmag and all that stuff. So nothing from there, it really started to build up kind of naturally, I would say. But really, the Boiler Room was something that put me again more into the international,
consciousness and the international scene.
And the international
I mean,
scene,
like I remember this time vividly, and I remember just that, like, like how dynamic you were and how hard you worked, and
when I was young.
And like it was really inspirational to me because like one thing that like people who watch this podcast might not know is that you were very instrumental in helping me to launch my own record label, because you had already done it. You were successful with Beste Modus. I was about to launch Incal, which then launched the second label Meta, which then became sort of a label where I went on to sign people like Chris Dussy, Toman, Rossi, Darius.
I had Toman too. I had him first.
I know. You released him first.
You
released him first. But like all of these people, and and it became a very influential label. But you were the one that really kind of like you and Eastern Dubs really kind of helped me through the process. Eastern Dubs introduced me to the my distributor, which was DJ.de. Marcus at DJ.de. But you taught me, like, you guided me through the whole self-pressing, because the first ones I pressed myself and hand stamped them myself. And
those times, stamping like 1,000 records. Okay.
They sold out.
Yeah, they sold out.
And then I had to stamp them again and again.
Yeah, and then you got the repress.
In the end, I just sent the stamp to DJ.de. It's like, you guys stamp them.
I think we also...
But you were really instrumental with helping me with that. Yeah. And what was amazing about you was that you did all of these different things. You put on parties. You were heading this label. You were kind of the leader of this group of Beste Modus, of these guys that released music that were really happening. And on top of that, you're a single mother.
Yeah, true. That was also the time when I split off my ex.
Yeah, and what I kept saying to myself is like, if Cinthie can do all of those things while also raising a child.
Didn't you make a t-shirt out of that?
I should have. Yeah. But if Cinthie can do all of those things while raising a child, then surely me being a man that doesn't have to raise a child and you know, take care of a family, can do those things too. And it really inspired me to do my thing. So you were very inspiring to me. How did you manage to juggle all of those things, and how did you find the energy? Did you not at times think like, oh my God, like this is all crazy, because then the traveling started more, then you had to find, you know, au pairs that look after your daughter for the weekend while you're on the road, sometimes take you with her, like juggling all of those things seems like impossible odds to beat somebody for a woman. I think most people would have just gone like, I'm just going to have a good life as a software engineer and you know, work at home. Like, what drove you to do all of those things? How did you find the energy? And like, how did you find the motivation to do all those things?
Yeah, I think it was just, I got most motivation, I think from the crowds, you know, and also people that contacted me like, I just bought the latest Beste Modus. Wow, the tracks are really good. And, you know, that really pushed and motivated me. And then, of course, I made a lot of connections with people, with other DJs, other artists, and also people like you, you know, they asked me for advice. And I really had the feeling, okay, I'm doing something right, you know, and also got a lot of emails or messages from other women, you know, that wanted to start making music. And I said, okay, you're really a role model, because I never knew if I could have a career and also a family and stuff like that. And I mean, of course, with me, it was special because I was the single mom, but no, so I think it showed some people that everything is possible, and I think all this positive energy from the people gave me some energy, and and it just, I don't know, I was so hungry for all of that, you know. It's also some stuff was completely new to me, because we started as a vinyl only label, and I think it was even you that recommended me to go also like on the digital side, because you said, okay, there's lots of people that are missing out on your music, because
I was very convinced of that at the time. I was like, this is, we need to be on Spotify. It was just the thing, you know?
Because I mean, of course, it's also an extra money thing, and also that money you can also invest in the label and stuff. But also on the other side, you have so many people in Asia, in Australia, in Latin America that don't have so much money, and they cannot afford to buy a record, pay the custom, pay the shipment, and those people also want to listen to your music. So it was also good to happen on Beatport and stuff like that. So and all that stuff was new to me. Then also meeting those people and making the deals, making the connection, and that was also something that you know
what convinced me of that as well, because like obviously like I was in the vinyl only space as well. I followed your footsteps. Also Eastern Dubs, his footsteps. He was like vinyl only in the beginning as well. And, you know, we were really in the vinyl business.
We were almost, I don't want to say the word, but we were not the Nazi.
Like the vinyl pushers.
You don't play vinyl, you're not my friend.
And like we were really in the vinyl business. And then I remember vividly, I went to South America. Like this is when I first started touring in South America. And like the warm-up DJ was playing all of my like all my tunes. And he's like, I have all your music. And I was like, but you don't play vinyl. And he goes like, and I was like, where'd you get it from? And he goes like, and I'm like, where you get the tunes from? And he goes like, there's this Russian store. And he told me like, obviously there's these Russian vinyl rip stores basically. And they rip all of the vinyls. And just on like Beatport, you can go and buy all the vinyl releases. And I was just like, might as well release them on digital as well, because people are playing them anyway. I mean, I wasn't coming down hard on this guy. I was just happy that he was into the music, you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
And he did what he had to do to get the music. And I would have done the same thing if I was in his shoes, you know?
Of course.
But that really got me convinced. It was like, we're missing out here. We're limiting ourselves. And I always remember people approaching me at the time, and the guy's like, Ben, we would really love you to do a release on our label. It's limited to 250 and we're going to press on
180 grams.
180 grams vinyl we're pressing on.
And then we have a gatefold
and like whatever.
And
I'm like I would always ask, why would you limit it to 250? What's the thinking behind that?
It's really stupid,
It's like, why would you sell as many as you can?
But honestly, we had the same thing when we started. Beste Modus was like, okay, it's limited on to 300 copies, and then they were sold out in 24
hours.
2 minutes. Mine was sold out in 1 minute, and now we're sold out in like really like 24 hours, and people were asking for the record, and we said no repress, you know, and I felt almost like a dick. fake.
It feels like a snobby. It feels like a snobby vinyl thing. Like it feels like a elite type of thing. You know, where you're thinking like, no, like music is here to be shared. This is why we became DJs, right? And it doesn't devalue the music if there's more of it around.
If it's expensive on Discogs, it doesn't mean you know, it's not. It's expensive on Discogs, but it's not valuing the actual music. You know?
And it's also like I kept thinking about this like back in those days, and I don't think it's so much the case anymore. I feel like a lot of the vinyl only scene has kind of shifted to like being also on Bandcamp as well. But you are still in the trenches with vinyl because you still run a record store to this day. So how is that scene going now? Like is it still as vibrant as it was like in the Beste Modus days?
No, definitely not. I mean, also when I had Beste Modus, we pressed 1,000 copies to start with, and then did always the 500 units repress and stuff like that. And now I start with 500 copies, so you definitely see it's a bit less in demand, or whatever you want to call it. Also, we have to think about that. Vinyl is a luxury good now. Because it's, I mean, a single record costs like 15, 16, up to 20 euros, you know? And maybe you know that my husband, he used to have a record store, very legendary one in Frankfurt, was a Freebase. You know, they opened in 92 and they started with punk.
Legendary, and a long time.
A long time, and they started with punk music and with electronic music, but quickly made the switch only to electronic music. And I think he closed the shop now maybe 8 years ago, or something like that. But then when we started dating and it was quite clear, okay, we're going to be together. And he moved to Berlin, he brought some stuff he had in his basement, and he had some old sleeves from Freebase, you know, with the price stickers on, and I was almost crying. It was like 11 euros, 10 euros, 9.50. Oh my god! And now, you know, it's 15, 16, 17.
You guys
euros.
Are so funny. I watched the video of you recently, and you were like, you're playing him some records or something. You're like, do you know this record? He's like. I recognize this. And you were like, it's one of yours. I stole it.
But this was so funny because he has also like 10,000 records. And then when he moved to Berlin, of course, we had to bring everything. And we played at Robert Johnson together. He still had the flat in Offenbach, and he said, okay, let's use the time useful and get some boxes, and we start packing. But then it was a long night, so I started, and he helped me, and then at some point he was like, oh, I need a break, I'm gonna have a nap. And I was like, yeah, do it. I took the record. I always wanted to have this went straight in my
fire. He's not gonna notice.
And then later when we were in Berlin and we had a dinner with friends, and he was like telling the story, I just moved like 10,000 records. And in my head I was like, honey, it's only 9,995, you know, because I took 5 of them or 10 of them, you know.
I will tell you at some point. That's amazing. Well, you guys, like, you know, I mean, congratulations to getting married. It's been a little while ago already.
Almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years, but like, congratulations regardless. And just like, you know, both of you have an encyclopedic knowledge of electronic
he's so
music
much
and house music.
I mean,
So it's a really great match, and it's great that you both share that passion together. Okay, so now we are in these kind of times where like your career is starting to take off. You're getting more and more bookings coming in. How did you? But
I think I needed to finish the story with how it's going with the record store.
Yes, please.
So as I said, the records are luxury good now. And also I think you have to definitely push more. It's not that you release a record and, you know, it's flying off the shelves, and people that really think about it twice. Okay, if they're only like one track on the EP, do they really want to buy it, or are they also looking to get a digital from Bandcamp or something like this? So that is definitely a change. I would say the record store is still going well. But the times have changed, and I think what we had, you know, when we all started in like 2011, 12, 13, you know, we're talking about labels like, I mean, the Eastern Dubs, then there was Slap Funk, My Love is Underground from Germany, Underground. There is Routilance from DJ Stu. Then there was Beste Modus, you know, it was all these groups of like, you know, people playing records, you know, and also selling records. And we were in this underground house scene. You know, it was a really cool scene also with Malingini, with Fritz Manda, Fritz Wenting, Sam, you know, all these people. And it was a really good time because we were all connected, all supporting each other. I mean, at the IPSA, I had this party with Routilon, Slap Funk, and ourselves, you know, and it was like a big fucking gathering with everyone. And that was a great time. And but that has definitely changed, and I think it definitely takes longer to sell records at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I want to now get back into like your career really starting to take off. At some point, it really was like self-evident that like you're getting, you know, the respect in the scene that you deserve. You know, like you had this kind of unique position. You made banging tracks. You released on some legendary labels like Will Saul's All's Music, you know, which was, you know, really an important label that broke some really big artists, you know, like Bicep, for example, that made their name on All's, you know, and many others.
A lot of people,
Paul Wolford did stuff on there, like lots of people did stuff on there. Enzo Siracusa also, many more people. So also a legendary. How did you then, like, what was the step from being like a local hero to being part of the sort of international house music scene and being kind of regarded as like a major player in house like worldwide then? Because I feel you also like occupy quite a unique niche still.
It's true.
Like where it's like you're like really kind of, you're known as somebody that still plays vinyl, still is a selector, you know, like that plays music that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else, you know, rare records. And like, how did you manage to carve out that niche for yourself, and how did things progress to the international stage?
I have to say it's still funny because I still don't have a manager, you know. It all came super naturally, like step by step. And also I had a good team around me with Laura, my booker, and also Jordan, who did my PR stuff. And I think us together, we worked really, really good together. The people really liked the music I released. And then, of course, I had the album. Then I had the DJ kicks. And I think everything was building up like naturally and stuff like that. And then, so I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I think also in the scene, you know, you can plan everything as much as you want, but still you need a little bit of luck, you know. And some people do it for 20 years and then they have their breakthrough. And some people do it for 3 years and then they have their breakthrough. So it's...
Well, it wasn't an overnight success.
No. I mean, when you look at that, I had my first gig in a club in 2017, you know. And then I made the Boiler Room was 2014, you know, almost 20 years later. 20 years later? Yeah, 20 years later. And so or even with people like Hanni Dijon. I mean, I saw her playing for the first time in Paris with DJ Wild in I think it was also 1997. Wow. And then she was already around, you know. And then when did she have her really big breakthrough? When it took
a long time.
Yeah, when she played was it Sugar Mountain in Melbourne or something?
It was the Boiler Room for Sugar Mountain in Melbourne. That was the breakthrough moment. I got told the story of that. She was like late, like she was just like time overdue, like everything went wrong that could go wrong, and she just pulled like that performance out of the bag that just put her in the public eye, and everything changed with one thing. It's crazy because it's almost like there's this saying is like success is like when luck meets preparation. You know, so like you need a tiny little bit of luck, but you need the preparation before you're ready for, like when you get a break, you're ready for it, basically, you know, and you show it. But then also going the extra mile because, you know, like I keep hearing the story again and again and again for people who are successful, like that they go the extra mile, they do something extra, they think about what else can I do to stand out. You know I have a guy that's also helping me teach on Dojo and who's like breaking news, a really sort of promising artist called Tommy Phillips. And you know, Tommy sort of broke through because he made this edit of like the Cascade and Deadmau5 track basically, and he made that especially for a gig, and he was like, what can I do extra for this gig, you know, and like just going the extra mile and trying to do something special to make you stand out, you know, and not just going on autopilot and going like, oh, I can play the tracks that I played last month. Nobody will notice, you know. So like, I think it's really important just to go the extra mile. And
it's important. And also you have to see, I mean, I have the theory that your audience is also changing every 4 or 5 years, you know. The people that followed me or that came to the parties where I played from when I was well known for Beste Modus Day. I mean, a lot of people are not going out anymore.
No.
I mean, especially after COVID, a lot of people kind of retired. A lot of of my people or my connections and stuff, they also don't play anymore. Also, they have kids now. They have switched their job during COVID and stuff like that. And also, even without COVID, you know, the people that are going out are mostly students, people that, I don't know, just have the time. They don't have a family and stuff like that. And as soon as they finish with studying, they have their first proper job. They're like,
they stop going out.
Yeah, they stop going out, or maybe not so much anymore. Yeah. Then they have families. So yeah, my theory is that every 4 or 5 years the audience changes. And even though you had a moment that went viral and stuff like that, still being relevant after 10, 15, 20, 30 years or something, that's I think it's the hard part, you know?
That's the challenge. You have to keep reinventing yourself really, constantly. Yeah,
because I have the feeling that, you know, I had the Beste Modus thing, then I came my own label, Crystal Grooves, and then I had the album on Oz. I even had a DJ Kicks, you know, that was, everything was like, okay, better, more, boom. And milestone. And then but at some point it's like, okay, what's coming after, you know? Yeah. You really have to also motivate yourself. Then also we had COVID, you know, that
was a big disruptor.
Yeah, and my album came out in COVID. So we had a nice album tour planned and that all fell through and stuff like that. So it really, for me, it was also kind of demotivating a little bit. And then also, I mean, we all know it, during COVID, the thing with the streaming came up and and then suddenly we had this other promotion tool we didn't have in the 90s, for example. So in the 90s, you really had to be good. You had to make tracks to be seen and known. And nowadays, you have also the visual part, which we didn't have back in the days, also with the social media and stuff.
I want to talk to you about that a little bit. It's like, what's your approach to social media and how do you navigate it? Because like, it seems like you are sort of taking a contrarian approach to social media, where you don't go for like traveling with a big team, capturing shots from different angles, and doing the whole sort of flashy thing. It's like a lot of it is like, you know, over the years that I've followed, is sharing music relentlessly, sharing the music
in my bag.
Sharing
in my bag.
Sharing the music that you play, and just taking a little. So tell me a little bit about your philosophy about how you approach social media and how do you play that game?
So the thing is with social media, I mean, I have Instagram, but I started it also very late because I'm a different generation, you know. I grew up with no mobile phones and stuff like that. So, but then, of course, you need it. But then on the other side, it's like, okay, this is not my real life, you know. I'm just showing a small part of it. And I want to keep it as authentic as possible. And of course, I could have like the high-class flyer, my monthly flyer with a super nice artwork. But then it's like, I don't know. It's I can also make it myself, you know. Also my studio videos, okay, I could make them maybe better. Also I could have a full team with me on the tour, but then in the end it's like, it's also always a little bit the same, you know. And so, and for me it's like, I rather share the music. So what I really love is, you know, I just have one video, I post one video and it's a really nice track I like. And I give people the track ID. I think it's definitely, they have more from it than just me being in front of a big crowd. Yeah. And also I'm coming from this like so-called underground scene, you know. Clubbing for us was a big shelter, you know, because back in the days, I mean, I was never into pop music and in all this culture, so I was a bit different than my friends, you know, and I really found a home in like electronic music. And for me, it's still like the club is really a holy thing and it shouldn't be filmed. Because also you have to see that people that start going out are maybe 16, 17, 18. They also find their own sexuality. Maybe a guy wants to kiss another guy. I don't want to be filmed when I'm doing that. Another girl films another girl, you know, a guy wants to dress as a woman. And I think so I'm really against this kind of whole filming out really the last corner of club culture, you know. So with the festival it's fine, but I think in clubs it really,
I think it's a very unique Berlin thing where like where we don't like what happens in the club stays in the club
and it's
kind
important
of thing. And it creates this really kind of free environment. And I'll see more and more people trying to sort of take that concept and bringing it to other places, you know. Michael Bibi in Ibiza is now trying to enforce a no phone policy where you know, for him at one point it really just got crazy, you know, because like as soon as he stepped on stage, it was just a sea of phones, you know, a sea of phones. And it must be like disheartening for DJs to see that as well, where like nobody's really focusing on the music.
No one's dancing, you know. And I also think as a DJ I failed, you know, because my job is to make people dance, you know, and if no one is dancing, so
exactly. What's going on?
I don't want to say it, but you're fired.
What's going on here? Okay.
So that's why I try to keep it a bit more like authentic, or I don't want to play the game yet. I like
that, and I think it is authentic, and I think it works. It works for you though.
It works for me.
Because it's very specifically you're like a real relentless music digger, you know, and you always share. Like I always say, like to my students, as like there's two jobs that we have. We're curators and creators of music. You know, we'll curate and we create. So this is why people come to us. They come to us because we make good tunes, but we also give them new knowledge and show them new tunes that they've never heard before. And if you can hit those two things and do those well, people will keep coming back, you know? And even like some of the people who are like that I've interviewed on this podcast that are really built huge followings just of social media, like Fish Octagon, right? You know, like Fish
the guy
Octagon.
Who shared the tracks.
He's just a curator, you know, like he just shares music relentlessly all of the time. Does, His entire channel is built on sharing his vinyl collection and tunes that he loves, you know, and that's how he built the following, which I think is great and authentic. And this is why really I had him on the podcast as well, because I'm very critical of the whole new generation of sort of, I would say, TikTok or social media DJs, you know, and I don't like the direction it's going in. But when it is something about sharing music, then I think it's authentic.
Yeah, or sharing a bit of knowledge or sharing a bit of stuff, people really can do something with it, you know, just rather than, I don't know, I don't want to hate, but sometimes I see like videos, it's like get ready with me, and I'm like, cringe.
Like,
and they brush their teeth, you know.
It's like nobody's interested.
And they put their Prada underwear on. It's like, I don't care. You know?
I totally agree with you.
I mean, it can be fun, you know, but it's like, it's nice.
I totally agree. It's not something that I care for as well. Another thing that you've done is you've kind of built a very successful career without actually being part of a big brand, which is also very unusual. You know, most people are kind of like, being part of a major brand is really like the fast track, right? It's like, you know, like Jamie Jones has created countless careers, you know, like giving people a break, giving people a platform, which I think is amazing. But you've kind of done it the contrarian approach. You were never signed to like one of those massive brands. You've played for all of them.
I played for all of them,
But you never like really
I'm hanging out with all of them.
You were never like, I'm with this camp. Like, was that intentional? Was that a strategy, or is it something that just kind of happened?
It just kind of happened.
Okay.
I think it's really funny because back in the days when I threw party at Watergate and also at About Blank in Berlin, like the old booker from About Blank said, it's only possible for you because About Blank is a very left-wing underground club, and Watergate was more like, I don't want to say commercial, but it was more for a bit more posh, you know, a bit more, it was just different, you know, and to have like parties in both clubs was really funny. And I think that's also now what I'm doing now. Of course, I play I play 2 or 3 times per year for Defected, but then of course I also play every 2 months in Panorama Bar, you know. And I think
which is very two different ends of the opposite ends of the spectrum, and to have the credibility to play for both basically really kind of shows that like, okay, like it shows being able to go in lots of different places.
And I mean, some people would say, Defected is commercial, but maybe they have successful tracks and stuff like that. But then for me, it's really nice, or I think that's also what they like about me, because I'm bringing back a little bit like kind of the underground music. And when I play, I don't play commercial music, you know. Maybe I have my one guilty pleasure per set I play, but I mean, I just remembered it from last year when I played at Malta. the people that played before me, they played a lot of like well-known tracks and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, what can I play after, you know, because all the hits were already played, you know. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna empty the floor, you know. And then I started playing records, so there was a little technical issue and stuff, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be the worst gig of my life. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna push through. And of course, I mean, the dance floor was full, and of course I could see a few people were like, okay, let's go to the other floor, let's have a drink. Let's go to the toilet. I mean, the floor was never empty, but you could see, okay, people were like, what's going on? I played no well-known track, just groover after groover after groover. And like the third or the fourth track, I could see people had nodding at the bar. And I was like, you a little...
I love it when you lock him in. I love it. Where it's like, now I've got him. But there's always that moment where it was like there's a change from what happened before. It's a period of readjustment. By the fourth track, they're like, I'm into this.
And they're like, oh, give me my drink, I have to go back to dance. And really, then I played, and I played 2 hours, and the last track I almost had like standing ovations, you know, something like this. You could really feel people like, wow, what was that? You know, she didn't play a single song I knew, and it was so different. And and I think it's also good, you know, for maybe a brand like Defected to also have something different, also show the audience something different. And
well, it's a very unique way that you've managed to place yourself in the industry, where you're playing for these big players, but you still got the underground credibility. You know, the people at Panorama book you because of, you know, the DJ that you are and your underground music knowledge. Defected books you for the same thing.
Yeah, true.
But you know, you can live in both worlds.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah, but also you can be true to yourself, you know, just don't need to suddenly play
change what you do.
Yeah, because they book me for what I play, you know, and they don't book me because I can play all the hits, you know.
Okay, so thank you so much for this conversation. I just want to talk a little bit about what's up for you now in 2026. Like, what's on the horizon for you? I know things are going from strength to strength.
So I definitely want to push my label a bit more because I just started it in 2018. I had a couple of good releases, but during COVID, I put it a bit on ice, and I think that's gonna be the next priority. You know, finding new talents again, and I want to focus on a few more like label parties because also. As I said, I put it a bit on the ice because also I changed the agency and I want to see how things are going. Then I was making more music for other labels and stuff, but it's going to be definitely the focus for 2016.
Right. That's on Crystal Grooves.
2026, sorry. And I have already confirmed a couple of good spots for some label parties. And I think that's the next thing. And then, of course, like touring. And I'm working on the second album.
Okay, fantastic news.
Yeah, let's see.
I'm looking forward to
I have 2 tracks already.
The last album was fantastic.
Thank you.
It was an amazing album, and like, you know, like there's so many tracks of yours that I keep going back to in my sets, basically, because they really have a timeless quality about them. Like, you know that these kind of tracks, you can play them in 10 years. Yeah. Like they you don't know when they're made. They could have been made 10. They could have been made 20 years ago. Yeah. But they could have been made yesterday. Yeah. And you can maybe play them in 15 and 20 years still, you know? So they really have a timeless quality about them. You know, I think you've certainly established yourself as a force in house music, as a queen.
Thank you.
Of house music. And I'll thank you for this conversation,
Thanks
my
so
dear
much for
Cinthie.
having me. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you again.
Okay, guys, in case you haven't done it yet, like, subscribe, follow, comment, and if you want to learn how to make house music, and you don't even know that this podcast is a podcast of a music school called Dojo Music, then check out dojomusic.net, and you can find courses from people like Coulter, myself, Ruse, Tommy Phillips, and many more, and come and join our community to learn how to make house music and to build your dream career with us.